Emotions, they are meant to be felt in the body. These are not something that is a concept of an emotion, but it's rather something that is felt sensationally in the body. So, for example, that feeling of anger, or that like sense of like fire that explodes into the center of your chest, we know what anger feels like because it's an intense emotion. But all emotions have a physical sensation to them. Love is another explosion in the center of the chest that has this like blissful, tingly feeling. That's the way typically people describe it. But all emotions have a physical sensation to them. Curiosity has like a prickling, tingling sensation on the skin, that sort of thing. Different types of like gut feelings, maybe a negative one might be a sense of intense anxiety or like even a stomach flip. Things even like butterflies, feeling, kind of entranced with someone. Not necessarily a good thing. That's still a symbol of anxiety. Butterflies are, I recognize this person and there's a sense of understanding, but that thing is still going to cause me anxiety in the end. Butterflies are not necessarily a good thing. And the sense of sheer joy has this expansive full body feeling to it. So, the idea that emotions live only in our minds, which is a very Western, sensation suppressed concept, is very much what is hindering your relationships, is preventing a sense of intimacy, and is giving you a lack of self awareness and understanding. That is emotional repression, and it's going to come out in many different types of forms in your relationships, in your connection with yourself, and ultimately even have like health repercussions. Because every time we suppress emotion, that tension gets stored in the body somewhere. And when we are not allowing ourselves to fully feel, and more importantly, to fully express, that emotional suppression is going to be tracked in the body somewhere as cortisol. And that retention is going to create all kinds of issues. Even things like defensiveness creates weight gain. It creates that I am intentionally pushing people away from me because letting them in is too much. It is too intense. And creating the feeling of safety within our own bodies is not something we're accustomed to. So that is why feeling emotion is so important, is because it allows us to fully connect with ourselves and other people. So different types of sensation mean that there is something there, but I think there are many times we don't even understand what peace feels like. So peace is feeling no particular sensation in the body. And this can happen. So the reason why we have mental suppression of emotions is to also achieve a false sense of peace, which is a neutral feeling in the body. That's that rest and digest. There's no particular sensation going on in the body. There's no tingling, there's no tension, the breath is regular. But the problem is that when there's a suppression of emotion, most of the time your breathing will be halted. There will be many parts in the day that you notice when you're going about your work, say, or interacting with a spouse or a friend, that you're actually stop breathing. And that lack of breath means that it's causing a sense of sensation. You've actually been triggered, and your body is in fight or flight. And most of the time, people do not notice that they have been triggered. They don't necessarily notice that they have stopped breathing, that something has upset them. And it comes out like 10 or 15 minutes down the road, or maybe even like later in the afternoon. Maybe something happened earlier in the day. And at the point when you're finally on your lunch break and can take a break to actually feel some things and let your body release the idea of being in fight or flight, is when that emotion of searing intense jealousy comes up out of nowhere. It didn't come out of nowhere. There was a trigger. But the problem is that the body registers sensation only when it is safe to do so. If you're not constantly in touch with your feelings and your sensations, then there are a lot of triggers that you're missing throughout the day. Your intuition doesn't have a chance to allow itself to be heard. And there are many times when you're going to be putting yourself in situations or having a lack of boundaries without feeling that emotion. It is to your benefit to feel all your feelings as they come up. Then there's no backlog, because otherwise your body has to store that as tension in the body, or maybe an illness that comes up later. Even getting a cold can sometimes be a way of giving yourself intentional downtime, because rest is not a priority for you. Doing nothing and lying around is not a permission that you give yourself. So, noticing how you physically feel is deeply important. Noticing the trigger and what that is a practice. Because the only way to notice that you're being triggered is to continuously noticing how you are breathing throughout the day. And the notice of that trigger becomes more instantaneous, and it becomes more obvious. It becomes more intense, to the point where you're asking yourself, do I really need to be putting myself in this situation? Do I need to say something? Because every time we state a boundary, we are protecting our bodies from having to deal with the repercussions of a crossed boundary in a physical health kind of sense. Your words protect your body from all the electrical chaos that goes on when we refuse to acknowledge our own boundaries. So saying no and not being a people pleaser is really important for your health. It's helpful for your sleep. It's important for reducing cortisol in your body so that you can actually have some weight loss and preventing weight gain, etc. It helps your entire body, your metabolism, your nervous system, your sleep patterns, your mood to function the way it's meant to function. Depression often happens because we are not getting to do the things that make us happy. We have suppressed all of our desires as unimportant, and we have said that work, for example, is more important than how I feel, which is being happy. Pleasing my partner is more important than my health and how I feel and being happy. Do you see how that becomes an issue? When you say no, when you have good boundaries and you say, I need to take, the afternoon for myself, that makes you happy. That cures the depression. Saying no means that you have prioritized yourself to realize that you can only help and be there for people when you are making yourself happy. That's what it means. It's an entire physiological experience. So noticing what you're feeling is part one, but then prioritizing the sensation of getting your needs met, or perhaps getting to do things that are fun just for you, is a way of creating a good mood intentionally. So when you get to do your hobbies, your crafting moment, you get to go out in nature and do that hike, you get to go on that fishing trip, you get to go out on that girls' night, you get to go dancing, you get to go and go skating or hunting. Those are all priorities that you have in order for you to keep your health, your sanity, and your relationships. By being selfish, by prioritizing your needs, you are helping everyone around you. There is no scenario in which repressing your emotions or the expression of your emotions that is beneficial to other people. Repressing your emotions is not beneficial to other people. Even if you are getting angry at someone, realize that when in that moment, let's say it's justified, okay? Then you're expressing dissatisfaction with a lack of integrity, let's say. If you are triggered, however, and it is something internal to you that's going on, it's not your body expressing a boundary, it's you feeling that the resurgence of the past and taking that out on someone. That is a problem. That's something they didn't deserve, because that is not present in the present moment. That is a factor of the past. So that's why breathing is so important. Noticing your breath throughout the day, particularly in calm moments. Realize that anxiety is going to come up the most when everything physically around you is the most calm. Why? Because that's when the nervous system has time to unload all the backlog of sensations that you were not able to register throughout the day. So don't be surprised. If you have a lot of trauma, then when you are alone, when things are peaceful and physically calm in your environment, nothing's really going on, or when you're trying to fall asleep, for example, that's probably when these things are going to come up and happen. And the best thing that you can do for any of that is to breathe through it and actually ask that sensation, that anxiety, that anger, those tears, that sadness to get stronger. Be there for those emotions. Be present in your body for that pain. The more present that you are with that pain, the better opportunity it has to take literally the few minutes. It's not going to last forever. It's just going to be intense for a minute. That's the moment when you are inducing healing within your psyche, within your spirit, and within your nervous system. That is doing the spiritual work. That is healing. So when you are giving yourself time to feel, and you can set aside a time in the day to do that. You can set aside to journal. You can talk about your day in your journal. You can feel the things that you need to feel that maybe you didn't get to feel during the day because you were in fight or flight. That trigger means that you instantaneously repressed your emotions, didn't have time to process it, which is normal, and you went to deal with the situation rather than being empathetic and being there for yourself, which is something you may not have had time for or awareness for. That's appropriate. That's your mind and your nervous system caring for you as a spirit who happens to be housed in a physical body, and making priorities, prioritizing what's important in the moment. Survival is important in the moment. But long term, what you're going to need is to be there for your body and your nervous system in return. It's a reciprocal experience. You are a spirit having a physical experience on this planet. And so you got to be there for your body, because your body is definitely going to be there for you. The earth suit is doing a lot for you and your psyche to protect you from the things that you cannot deal with in the moment. So have the kindness, the generosity, the exuberance to be there for your body, and maybe some of your inner child aspects. When those aspects of you need you to be consciously present and aware with those aspects of you. When you are taking action, or you are exuding the strength that you need in order to deal with those physical situations, your emotions will respond appropriately. And those emotions are actually a type of waveform that is emitted from your entire body. It's like your entire body transmits this feeling of strength and integrity out into your environment. It's kind of like throwing a rock into a pond. When you have an emotion, it's kind of like a ripple. But when you do something with that, when you do something with that energy and you take it into yourself, you can also exude or emit the emotions that you need to in order to get the thing done. So for example, let's say someone insults you. Let's say you're at work, someone insults you, and instead of taking it, because you're not necessarily doing anyone any good by just taking it, realize that the universe might be testing you a little to see, are you really going to accept this kind of awful treatment? You are doing someone a service when you tell them, no, hey, you're out of alignment, that's not okay. And we can either, there are many different ways of addressing such things. We cannot continue this connection. This business deal is off. As a customer, you need to go. We do not serve rude people. I don't know what it is, but people need repercussions because they didn't always get that as kids, right? There wasn't an obvious give and take or reciprocity going on that means when I do this, this is what happens back to me. Like there's not that reflection going on. So sometimes as adults, we have to be that reflection. But when you are dealing with people that do not understand boundaries, it is important to state them. And so that's what I mean, that strength, that integrity. When you stand up for yourself in that way, even if it's just a small comment like, hey, that's not okay, you can say it in a calm voice. Sometimes it takes so much strength just to do that, is to say no and then walk away. You don't have to do a whole lot when someone insults you, just to let them know that their behavior is unacceptable. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. But realize that when you are in that moment, you're probably going to be feeling like prickles, stings, and anxiety in your body. You might have a halted breath. You might not be breathing fully and easily. And that is still the moment when you have the opportunity to at least notice your trigger or to take action. You have options. But feeling all of your feelings is valuable, because the more we repress our emotions, the more that we do not feel pain, but we also do not feel pleasure or positive things or happiness or freedom or enjoyment or love or anything. And so letting good things in, feeling positive things, bliss, all of these things are ones that we cannot experience when we are either refusing to feel our emotions, or we are refusing to exude our emotions, let other people experience our emotions. Because I see sometimes that people refuse to feel their feelings, so they don't feel anything in their body. You insult them, they don't feel anything. There's that type of person, but then there's also the type of person that does feel the physical insult, feels it deeply, but doesn't feel their reaction to it. They don't feel that sense of injustice. Or if they do feel that sense of injustice, they don't let the other person know that they felt that feeling of injustice. So it's kind of like having a candle inside of a box. And that's like a protected emotion. And so we won't let any of the light escape from that box. That's one aspect. And that could be like the person that, sort of represses their emotion. Like there's no light getting out. But then there's the person that, the candle isn't in a box, but there's an umbrella in front of it. So the person in front of them can't experience the light. And that means they're not exuding their emotions. So there's two types of emotional repression going on, but don't be in either category. Know what the sensations of your body are telling you. Is your body telling you that anxiety is there because you didn't take an action? Like when you think about doing something, you feel anxious about it, but you also feel like you still need to do that thing. It's a difficult thing you need to do. It's unpleasant, sort of, because it's new. But there's anxiety if you don't do it, or I don't want to think about that because it's hard. There's that. But that also goes back to your own sense of integrity, authenticity, and your ability to truly be you. Because if you're preventing yourself from doing something because it's unpleasant, it's not fun, that is also a type of emotional repression. And I see this a lot in people that, let's say, don't want to give an apology or don't want to admit that they're wrong. There's a sensation of holding back. There's a sensation of pride or I'm right. Whereas humility feels a little bit like softening in your gut. You can breathe a little bit deeper, softening in your chest. There's like an opening feeling to that. So many people stop themselves from feeling love. So many people stop themselves from crying. That's a big one. When they feel that there is something that made them just want to open up and for no reason just start bawling, do that thing. You feeling your emotions live, real time, gives other people to feel and experience and be. If you're feeling like the sensation of wanting to cry, for instance, it could be coming from a place where, let's say it's friends around you that have triggered you into suddenly feeling something that you weren't expecting, let's say grief. And instead of holding back because you are in good company, why not just allow yourself to cry for 5 minutes? They're your friends. They'll be there for you. But even in a negative context, let's say your boss is yelling at you and you start feeling like you want to cry. A lot of times in Western cultures, we will repress that feeling of wanting to cry. And there are different contexts, but let's say it's a positive one, where if you started crying in front of your boss, they would get the message that what they're doing is causing pain. Not all bosses will see it that way, okay? This is just an example. The point is that withholding what you're feeling in the moment is, one, means that you're going to have a backlog of that emotion later. So figure out if you want to deal with it now or then, because you're going to have to deal with it at some time. Like, don't make it a health crisis because you held your emotion in too long. Emotions are energy, and if you hold on to a lightning bolt for too long, like a capacitor, it's going to explode at some point. So don't let that be your body, your cells, etc. Or you can just let it flow through you. Being a lightning rod is not painful for the lightning rod. The electricity just flows through it. The emotion flows through you. And do not identify with your emotions either. You are not sadness. You are not anger. You are not anxiety. You are not necessarily an anxious person. It's just these are things that are passing through you. Like air through a windmill. These are things that are moving through your experience. It's energy being moved. So do not judge it. Give yourself the opportunity to fully feel your feelings whenever you can make that happen. Journal, write, talk to people about it. Go on a run. Get it out of your body. Get it out of your system, because all of these things become physical. Physically move through your emotions if that's what you need to do. But give yourself an outlet to truly physically feel, because I guarantee you all emotions have sensation in the body. It makes your life a fuller experience, a happier one, a much lighter and connected one with other people and yourselves. This is One Life Mechanics. I'm a somatic therapy life coach. I'm here to help you live your most joyous, fulfilled life and to experience your dreams. I'm here to assist, and I will see you next time on One Life Mechanics.